Did you know that God is speaking to you right now and you might be ignoring it? Yes, what you think is just your mind working could be the voice of God trying to guide, correct, or even transform your life. And the most impressive part, He doesn't speak in the ways you might expect. No grand signs, no extraordinary miracles. He uses something much simpler yet profoundly powerful: your own thoughts. It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But that's precisely what makes it all the more fascinating. Now, let me ask you something. How many answers, how many miracles do you think you've missed because you failed to recognize the signs? Because today, I'm going to show you how to decipher these divine messages hidden in your mind and how it can radically change the course of your life, starting now. So, don't ignore it. What you'll discover in this video could be the key you've been missing to find direction, peace, and the purpose you've been seeking. Are you ready to understand how God speaks to you? Stay with me until the end, because what you'll learn here can transform absolutely everything. God speaks through life-transforming thoughts. God speaks to the human heart in ways we often don't notice at first glance. His thoughts arrive like gentle breezes, almost imperceptible, but laden with purpose. It's common for someone to be lost in daily worries, battling anxiety, or feeling directionless, and suddenly a thought arises. Trust in God. He is in control. We often overlook this inner voice, but it is a divine whisper calling us to reconnect with our faith. In Philippians 4:8, we are instructed to focus on what is true, noble, and worthy. A reminder that even our thoughts can be tools for God's glory. These thoughts not only reassure us, but can also bring surprising wisdom in times of uncertainty. Have you ever faced a difficult decision and unexpectedly an idea that provides clarity springs to mind? It could be God guiding your mind towards choices aligned with His will. A clear example of this is found in the story of Solomon, who asked God for wisdom, 1 Kings 3:9-12. Similarly, we can pray for direction when we feel lost. Try pausing for a few minutes daily, perhaps at the start of your day, and ask God to guide your thoughts with His peace. But how do you discern if these thoughts are from God? The answer lies in consistency with the Scriptures. God will never lead us to something that contradicts His word. If a thought inspires you to show gratitude, forgive someone, or trust in His promises, it's likely from the Holy Spirit. Remember Proverbs 16:3, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and your plans will succeed." Divine thoughts often bring a sense of purpose and calm that the world cannot offer. Some people report that these moments of inspiration arise in unexpected places, during a walk, in the silence of a room, or even amid a busy day. This happens because God is always close, waiting for us to stop and listen to Him. Imagine a moment when you are struggling with financial worries or doubts about your future, and suddenly you remember Matthew 6:26, which tells us that God cares even for the birds of the sky. This thought is not a coincidence. It is a divine message to strengthen your faith. True transformation begins when we recognize that God speaks to us daily and often through our own reflections. He uses these thoughts to correct paths, inspire decisions, and bring comfort in difficult times. Have you ever wondered how many of these thoughts you've ignored because you were distracted? God invites us to slow down and reflect. Practice setting aside a moment at the end of the day to give thanks for the thoughts of wisdom and peace He has placed in your mind. Finally, it is in the quiet that these thoughts become clearer. In a noisy world, God does not compete for our attention. He prefers silence. This leads us to a crucial point. How can silence be used by God to calm our hearts and bring answers? Think about it and tell me, in which moments have you realized that God spoke to you through a transformative thought? Leave your answer in the comments. God uses silence amidst chaos. In the midst of a noisy, frantic world, God calls us to silence. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the demands of everyday life, social media, work, or incessant worries. However, it is in silence that God speaks more clearly. Just as in 1 Kings 19:12, when Elijah heard God's voice not in a strong wind, nor in an earthquake, but in a gentle whisper, we are invited to step away from the chaos to hear that same voice. God doesn't need to shout. He reveals himself subtly to those who choose to stop and listen. Have you ever tried disconnecting from the noise around you to listen to what he has to say? Often, silence can be uncomfortable, but it is in it that we find peace that does not come from the world. Jesus is the perfect example of this. Before making important decisions, like choosing the 12 disciples, he would retreat to quiet places to pray. Luke 6:12. This habit teaches us that silence is not empty, but a sacred space where communion with God is strengthened. How about setting aside a moment of your day to disconnect from everything and seek that divine peace? Even if it's just 10 minutes, you might be surprised at how much it can renew your mind. Silence is not just a space of calm, but also of transformation. During times of chaos, many wonder where God is. However, it is in silence that he works in ways we cannot see. Think of a sculptor shaping a masterpiece. The process happens in silence, but the result is extraordinary. Similarly, God uses silence to shape our character and strengthen our faith. Philippians 4:7 assures us that the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard our hearts and minds. But are we allowing that silence to penetrate our chaos? Some people discover God's voice in moments that would be considered insignificant. For example, during a walk in nature, observing the swaying of trees, or during the reading of a psalm that seems to speak directly to the heart. Try reading Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." These simple words remind us that by quieting down, we find assurance that he is in control. What is the place where you feel most at peace? Perhaps there you will find the space to listen to him. However, modern society seems to have a constant fear of silence. Many try to fill it with distractions, fearing to face their own thoughts. But it is precisely in that emptiness that God plants seeds of wisdom and trust. He calls us to slow down and remember that it is not us who control everything. He is the one steering the boat. A practical way to seek that silence is to start a prayer journal, where you can write down your worries and then simply listen, unhurried. Who knows what he might reveal in those moments? And so, God uses silence as a bridge to bring direction and calm to the troubled heart. But this leads us to reflect. How to find that peace amidst the storms that insist on surrounding us? This is a question that invites us to seek the depth of the divine presence in situations that seem out of control. Have you ever experienced hearing God's voice in silence? Share your experience with me in the comments below. God offers peace amidst the storms. The storms of life arrive without warning, bringing anxiety, fear, and uncertainty. In these times, it seems impossible to find peace, but that is precisely when God manifests with greater intensity. His peace is not like the world's, limited and fleeting, but a peace that transcends all human understanding. In John 14:27, Jesus reminds us, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives." Just as Jesus calmed the stormy sea with just one word, Mark 4:39, he can also calm the internal storms that consume us. Do you believe that this peace can transform your life? When facing challenges, it's common to feel that we are alone. But God never abandons us. He gives us strength to face difficulties and serenity to trust in his providence. Imagine someone who, in the midst of a difficult diagnosis, finds consolation in prayers and verses like Psalms 23:4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. This is the type of peace God offers, a certainty that even in the worst circumstances, He is in control. How about meditating on these moments and handing over your fears to Him? Often, the peace of God does not mean that the storms disappear immediately, but that we are empowered to go through them with courage. Think of Peter walking on the water towards Jesus, Matthew 14:28-31. As long as he kept his eyes on Christ, he walked on the impossible. However, when he focused on the wind and the waves, he began to sink. This story teaches us that trusting God in the midst of difficulties gives us strength to continue, even when everything around us seems to fall apart. Where have you been focusing your attention lately? This peace is accessible to everyone, but it requires sincere surrender. It is not something we achieve by our own effort, but through a close connection with God. A simple exercise is to create a habit of memorizing verses that bring hope and repeating them out loud whenever anxiety tries to take over. Philippians 4:6-7 is an excellent starting point. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. In addition, it is important to remember that this peace is a divine gift, but it requires our receptivity. In the modern world, where we are bombarded by distractions and negative news, we need to consciously seek refuge in God. A useful practice might be to create a worship environment at home with songs that lift the spirit and remind us of God's promises. Try listening to hymns like How Great Thou Art, or contemporary songs that speak of faith and hope. What is the song or practice that helps you feel closer to God? Finally, this peace that God offers us is not just to comfort us, but also to teach us something greater. It is in the calm, amidst the chaos, that we truly learn to trust in Him. But how do we maintain this peace when persistent thoughts continue to disturb us? This is a question that leads us to reflect on how God can use even the most persistent thoughts to guide us. Have you ever experienced the peace that only God can give? Share your experience in the comments and inspire others. Persistent thoughts as divine direction. Certain thoughts seem to never leave us, no matter how much we try to ignore them. They appear during the simplest tasks or at the most unexpected moments, like a subtle but insistent inner voice. Often, these thoughts are a way for God to call us to action. Jonah, for example, tried to flee from God's plan, but could not ignore the call. Jonah 1:1-3. These persistent thoughts can be divine invitations to correct something, embrace change, or simply trust more in God. Have you ever wondered if any of these persistent thoughts could be a message from God? These thoughts often challenge our comfort zone. Perhaps you feel an urge to apologize to someone or to start a new project that seems too big for your strength. It may be frightening, but it is precisely in these moments that God is shaping your character. Think of Nehemiah, who felt the call to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, Nehemiah 2:4-5. He did not know exactly how he would do it, but he followed the persistent thought that God had placed in his heart. What steps could you take today to follow the impulses that God has placed in your mind? It's common to resist these thoughts, especially when they challenge us to change. Maybe you're avoiding making a decision or are afraid of the unknown. However, God uses these moments to bring us closer to Him and strengthen our faith. In Proverbs 3:5-6, we are instructed to trust in the Lord with all our heart and not lean on our own understanding. These persistent thoughts are not to torment us, but to teach us to trust in God's perfect plan. Are you ignoring something that God has repeatedly placed in your mind? Sometimes these thoughts also direct us to act on behalf of others. Perhaps you persistently remember someone you haven't seen in a long time, or feel an impulse to pray for someone. These are not just random thoughts, they are invitations from God for us to be instruments of His will. just as Peter was sent to Cornelius's house in response to a divine vision, Acts 10:19-22, we too may be called to act. How about sending a message to that person God brought to your mind today? Small gestures can make big differences. The most interesting part is that these thoughts often come with a sense of purpose, even when they bring challenges. You may feel inadequate, but remember that God equips those He calls. In Philippians 2:13, we learn that it is God who works in us both to will and to act. So instead of resisting, ask for discernment in prayer and trust that He is guiding you. Maybe this is the perfect time to start a spiritual journal, noting recurring thoughts and asking God for clarity on what He wants you to do. These persistent thoughts call us to leave complacency and embrace God's purpose. But are we willing to leave our comfort zone and follow the call? This leads us to reflect on what happens when God challenges us to abandon the known and embrace something new. Have you ever experienced a persistent thought that seemed like a divine call? Share with me in the comments. I would love to know how God has been speaking to you. God calls us to step out of our comfort zone. God often invites us to leave the comfortable and predictable to embrace something greater and more meaningful. He does not call us to complacency, but to growth. When Moses was called through the burning bush, Exodus 3:1-12, he was living a quiet life as a shepherd. However, God challenged him to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt, a call that seemed much larger than he could bear. Similarly, God also calls us to face challenges that seem impossible but carry the potential to transform not only our lives, but also those of others. Are you hearing that call in your life? Stepping out of the comfort zone is always scary. Perhaps you have felt an impulse to change careers, start a ministry, or simply get more involved in your community, but the fear of failure paralyzes you. It's important to remember that God never calls us to something without empowering us. Philippians 4:13 tells us, "I can do all things through Him who strengthens me." The next time you feel that call, take a small step of faith, even if you don't know where it will lead. It could be as simple as starting a conversation, seeking spiritual counseling, or beginning to plan that change. When God challenges us, He is not looking for our perfection, but for our willingness. Think of Abraham, who was called to leave his land and his kin, to go to a place that God would later show him, Genesis 12:1. Abraham didn't know what awaited him, but he trusted in the divine plan. Practically speaking, how about you open yourself to new opportunities, such as joining a Bible study group, volunteering in a social project, or even learning something new that could be used to bless other people? It's in the small acts of obedience that great things begin to happen. Another powerful example is Peter, who stepped out of the boat to walk on the water towards Jesus, Matthew 14:28-29. As long as he kept his eyes fixed on Christ, he accomplished the impossible. This story teaches us that even when the unknown frightens us, it is in the act of stepping out of the boat that we experience the supernatural. What is the boat you need to leave today? It could be a toxic relationship, a routine that keeps you stagnant, or a fear that prevents you from moving forward. By trusting in God, you'll discover that He is the solid rock amid uncertainties. God also uses these situations to reveal our true potential. Often we think we are not capable or that we don't have the necessary resources to fulfill what He asks. But just like David faced Goliath with just a sling and a few stones, 1 Samuel 17:40, God uses what we already have in our hands to accomplish the impossible. Start by assessing your skills, talents, and resources, and ask God how you can use them to fulfill His purpose in your life. Perhaps the answer is already in front of you, waiting for your action. Stepping out of the comfort zone is an act of faith that brings us closer to God and His purpose for us. But what happens when these seemingly impossible ideas begin to arise in our thoughts? Could they be seeds planted by God, waiting for our action? Reflect on this and tell me, when was the last time you felt God challenging you to step out of comfort? Write in the comments and share how He has been working in your life. God plants transformative ideas. There are moments in life when an idea emerges in our minds like an unexpected flash, almost as if it were planted there by something greater. These ideas may seem audacious or even impossible to achieve, but they are often seeds planted by God to guide us to something extraordinary. Nehemiah, for example, felt the call to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Nehemiah 2:12. He was not an engineer, nor did he have apparent resources, but God used him to turn an idea into action and restore hope to an entire people. Have you ever had an idea that seemed to come from a place bigger than yourself? These transformative ideas often arrive in ordinary moments, during work, in the silence of prayer, or even amid daily tasks. Perhaps you have felt the desire to start a social project, write a book, or even start a small Bible study group. At first glance, these ideas might seem too grand. But remember, God never gives us a vision without also providing the means to realize it. In Philippians 2:13, we are reminded that God works in us both to will and to act. What idea has been arising in your heart lately? Could it be God showing you a path? Transforming these ideas into reality requires action. Nehemiah not only had the idea to rebuild Jerusalem, but he prayed, planned, and acted. Similarly, we should water the ideas that God plants in our heart with prayer and seek wisdom to take the first step. Books like The Journey by John Bunyan or Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren can be great resources to align your actions with God's plan. These ideas also challenge us to trust more deeply in God. When Nehemiah faced opposition during the reconstruction, he trusted that God was his fortress. Nehemiah 4:20. Practically, this teaches us to expect challenges and to face them with courage and faith. Perhaps you feel fear or insecurity when thinking about taking the first steps, but remember Isaiah 41:10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. By trusting in God, you'll discover that each obstacle can be transformed into a step towards something greater. Moreover, these ideas often have an impact that goes beyond our own lives. Imagine what could happen if you heed the idea to help someone or start something that will benefit your community. Just like the rebuilding of Jerusalem brought hope to an entire people, your obedience to God's call can transform lives around you. Try taking small steps, like volunteering in a ministry or helping in a local project. You never know how much God can do through a small seed planted in your heart. These ideas are divine gifts that connect us to God's purpose and lead us to reflect on the impact we can have in the world. But what about when these ideas directly connect with specific people who come to our minds? Could God be using these memories to call us to action? Think about it and share. What was the last idea or inspiration that you felt was planted by God? Write in the comments and inspire others with your story, remembering people as signs of divine action. Have you ever remembered someone, apparently without reason, and felt that you should do something about it? This is not just a coincidence. Often, it's God placing someone on your heart. These thoughts can be a divine invitation to intercede, help, or simply show care. Remember Peter, who was sent to Cornelius's house after receiving a vision from God, Acts 10:19-22. Like Peter, we are also called to be instruments of blessing in others' lives. Who has God placed in your mind lately? Perhaps it's time to act. These thoughts can arise in everyday moments, like during work or while listening to a song. You might feel a sudden urge to call a friend or send a message of encouragement to an acquaintance. Small gestures like these can have a profound impact. A practical example is to make a specific prayer for that person and then share the verse that came to your heart during the prayer. Proverbs 16:24 reminds us, "Pleasant words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the body." Never underestimate the power of a simple act of love. God also uses these memories to teach us compassion and empathy. Perhaps He is calling you to forgive someone or to restore a broken relationship. Just like Joseph forgave his brothers even after all he had suffered, Genesis 50:20. We are also called to be agents of reconciliation. If you feel that God is bringing to your mind someone who hurt you, how about taking the first step? A message of forgiveness or an invitation to talk could be the beginning of a great transformation. Often, these calls are to act in prayer. You may not know what the person is going through, but God knows. Start by setting aside a few minutes of your day to pray for those whom God has placed on your heart. Write the names in a prayer journal and track the responses that God brings over time. James 5:16 tells us that the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Perhaps your prayer could be the difference someone needs in a difficult moment. In addition, God may use these memories to involve us in something larger. Perhaps He is calling you to volunteer in a social project, start a support group, or even share your faith with someone who needs to hear a message of hope. Just like Jesus saw the need of the Samaritan woman at the well and offered her living water, John 4:13 or 14. We can also be channels of blessing in the lives of those God points us to. What can you do today to respond to that call? These memories are not accidental. They are divine invitations to act with love and faith. But what happens when God begins to use these actions to completely change our priorities and redirect our lives? That is the next step we need to explore. In the meantime, tell me, who has God brought to your mind recently, and how can you be a blessing in that person's life? Write in the comments, and let's continue this reflection together. God changes our priorities. When God enters our lives, He often calls us to reorganize what we consider important. Sometimes we are so focused on material achievements or personal goals that we overlook what truly has eternal value. Just like Saul, whose life was transformed on the way to Damascus, Acts 9:36, we are invited to realign our priorities. Saul's encounter with Christ not only changed his worldview, but also redirected all his energy to fulfill the divine purpose. And you? Have you noticed God asking you to change the focus of your life? This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with small changes in the heart. Perhaps you notice that the time you spend with God is often replaced by worries and daily tasks. Jesus taught us in Matthew 6:33, "But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." What would putting God first mean for you today? Perhaps it's dedicating more time to prayer, studying the Bible more consistently, or even spending more time with your family in moments of faith. When God changes our priorities, He also frees us from unnecessary burdens. Imagine carrying a backpack full of things you don't need, only to discover that what is essential takes up much less space. This happens when we hand over our worries to God and learn to trust in His control. Philippians 4:6-7 invites us to set aside anxiety and instead present everything to God in prayer. Try making a list of what occupies your thoughts most and ask yourself, does this really matter in light of eternity? Changes in priorities might also mean dedicating yourself to things you previously neglected. Perhaps it's time to use your gifts and talents to serve God and others. Think about the story of Martha and Mary, Luke 10:38-42. While Martha was busy with tasks, Mary chose to sit at Jesus' feet to listen to Him. This doesn't mean abandoning responsibilities, but recognizing what is most important. How about seeking opportunities to serve in your church or community? It could be something as simple as helping a neighbor or participating in a social action project. As we adjust our priorities, we begin to realize that what once seemed essential loses its importance. God helps us see beyond the immediate, directing our gaze towards the eternal. This might mean giving up a harmful habit, investing more time in relationships, or even reconsidering your career in light of divine purpose. Romans 12:2 reminds us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Have you considered how God might be renewing your mind today? When God transforms our priorities, He guides us to a life that is more meaningful and purposeful. But how does He do this in the small details of everyday life? This is a question that invites us to pay more attention to the subtleties of life and to see the divine hand in every aspect. Tell me, what was the most significant change that God brought to your priorities recently? Share in the comments and inspire others with your story. God reveals truths in everyday details. God is in the small details, often hidden in the simplest things of everyday life. When we pay attention, we realize that He teaches us great lessons in seemingly trivial moments. Just like Ruth, who found purpose in her loyalty and humble work, Ruth 2:2-3. We can discover God's hand in our daily gestures. From a casual conversation to an act of kindness, He is always there, guiding our steps. Have you noticed how something seemingly ordinary can carry a divine truth? These moments often go unnoticed, especially when we are overwhelmed with worries. However, a simple sunrise, the smile of a child, or even a verse read by chance can be God's way of reminding us of His presence. Think about how Jesus used parables based on everyday activities, like planting seeds or searching for a lost sheep, to reveal profound truths about the kingdom of God, Luke 15:4-7. How about starting to pay attention to the small moments of your day and asking, what is God teaching me here? When we learn to observe the details, we begin to see things from a new perspective. For example, an unexpected encounter with someone can be an opportunity to share your faith or show compassion. Remember how Jesus saw meaning in the simple act of a widow offering 2 coins in the temple, Luke 21:1-4. It's not the size of what we do, but the intention with which we do it. Maybe God is calling you to do something simple today. Send a message of encouragement, help someone in need, or even start a new spiritual habit. The everyday details are also an opportunity to strengthen our gratitude. Instead of complaining about daily problems, we can see them as a chance to learn and grow. When we stop to reflect, we realize that even in difficulties, God is working to shape our character. Romans 8:28 reminds us that all things work together for the good of those who love God. How about starting a gratitude journal, noting small blessings that often go unnoticed? God also uses the details to guide us toward our purpose. Maybe you're waiting for a big revelation or an extraordinary sign, but God often speaks in subtleties. Just like Samuel heard God's voice while lying down, 1 Samuel 3:4-10, we need to learn to recognize His voice amid the simplest tasks. Set aside moments of silence during the day to reflect and ask, Lord, what do you want me to see or do today? The small details carry truths that can transform our way of living, but these truths are not always revealed immediately. Often, we can only see them clearly in the right time, when God opens our eyes to understand what He has prepared. And you? What detail of your everyday life revealed something greater about God recently? Share your experience in the comments, and let's learn together. Truths revealed in the right time. God has a perfect timing for all things, and it is in that timing that He reveals profound truths that transform our life. Just like the disciples on the road to Emmaus only recognized Jesus when He broke the bread, Luke 24:30-31. There are lessons and revelations that we only understand when we are ready. Often we want immediate answers, but God works at His own pace, guiding us with patience. Have you ever experienced a situation where something only made sense after God revealed the purpose behind it? This waiting can be challenging, but it is essential for our spiritual growth. God not only gives us the answers, but He also prepares us to receive them. Imagine a child who wants to learn to drive before reaching the appropriate age. She is not ready, but in the right time she will be capable. Similarly, God teaches us to trust in His timeline. Ecclesiastes 3:11 reminds us, He has made everything beautiful in its time. How about viewing situations of waiting as opportunities to strengthen your faith and develop patience? While we wait, God works silently, preparing the ground for great revelations. Think of Joseph, who was sold as a slave and spent years in prison before becoming the governor of Egypt. Genesis 41:41-43. During that time, he not only waited, but trusted that God had a greater plan. Maybe you are facing a period of uncertainty now, without understanding the purpose. How about reflecting on what God might be teaching you at this moment? Perhaps He is shaping your faith for something you still can't see. God's truths don't arrive like a sudden lightning strike, but as a light that gradually turns on. When we finally understand, we realize that He was present all along. It's like a puzzle. The pieces seem disconnected at first, but in the end, they form a perfect image. In John 13:7, Jesus said, "Now you do not understand what I am doing, but later you will understand." Are you in the middle of one of these unfolding revelations? Trust that at the right moment, everything will become clear. It's also important to remember that these revelations are not always about us, but about God's greater purpose. When the disciples realized they were in the presence of Jesus on the road to Emmaus, they not only understood who He was, but also received renewed encouragement to spread the gospel message. What truths has God revealed to you that could bless other people? Perhaps it's time to share your testimony and inspire those who are still waiting for answers. God's truths arrive at the exact right moment, never before and never after. But they always point to something greater, His constant presence and His perfect plan. This leads us to reflect on how to apply all this in our life and move forward with confidence and gratitude. How about you share in the comments a truth that God revealed at the right time in your life? I would love to know how He has been working in your story. You've made it this far, and now you need to make a decision. Everything you've learned cannot just stay in theory. God is calling you to act. Will you continue to ignore the signs He has placed in your thoughts, or will you start to seek His presence more intentionally? The choice is yours, but remember, God does not give up on you, and each persistent thought, each transformative idea is an invitation to something greater. So how will you respond to it? Pause and reflect. What is God telling you today? What is the next step He wants you to take? Write here in the comments, what was the biggest lesson you took from this video? And if you feel that this content can bless someone else's life, share it. But before you go, don't forget, subscribe to the channel, activate the notifications, and continue following us. We will always bring messages to inspire you, motivate you, and bring you closer to the purpose that God has for your life. Now, it's up to you. What will be your next action?